Hello, everybody. Welcome back to On the Fringe. This is Dave. I'm here with Gavin,
Hey,
and we have an awesome guest today. So, today we're going to be talking with Derek Crager, the founder and CEO of Practical AI. Practical AI and Derek are putting humans first in an ever-changing world of work and education. Derek has done an incredible job with Amazon in the past. He built their top-rated training program. He also created Pocket Mentor that is supercharging learning. And he also has a book coming up that we're going to be getting into at the end of the podcast. And just to kind of get into it for a second, so we met with Derek online a few weeks ago after we finished our episode on Nepal. And this is for everybody in the audience too. If you guys would like to be on the Fringe, please reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you about what's going on, maybe in your industry or in your life. And we had a chat with Derek, and we all believe that empowering others to understand the world around them and to do their best is something that needs it's very important and critical in our world today. And no matter what anyone's background is or where they're born, they have skills that can improve themselves and improve their communities. So that's primarily where we're going to be focusing this podcast today. And first, I'd like to just ask Derek really quickly, how did you kind of get into AI and how did you, I guess, discover the power that AI has?
Well, gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for having me on your show. Love the invitation. You do a great service. I love your stories. And hello to all your fans out there. So, how did I get into AI? Well, I think I went alphabetically. AI today is it's a new wave of not really technology. I mean, although technology delivers it, it's really a new wave of information access. And I'm old enough that I remember the last big wave of information access was the internet when it went public in around 1989 or so. And it took a while for actually the world to catch on to the internet. Most people didn't really jump on until about 17 years later in 2006 when it became accessible via mobile phones. And so when I see AI, you already mentioned my success at Amazon. I've always considered myself a teacher my entire life, whether it's blue collar work, engineering, or training. I always look at myself as a teacher. So I saw AI as a tool, again, a tool that can augment humans in a way that the internet augmented humans by delivering information to us. And in my experience in life, I've always had the best success when I've had the information at, well, we used to say fingertips. We don't need to say that anymore. I think it's in ear mentoring is what my focus is on. So we use AI to take that information that you'd normally have to look up, do a search on a PDF or search the web or pull out an old manual or operating manual somewhere and try to track it down. But I believe very much in the effect of instant access to information. So we're using AI to deliver that instant access of information to individuals through their ear. So it's in-ear guidance, and just like you and I are having a conversation now, that's how we use AI. And so it's not about using AI to replace people. AI is a tool, and it can do many things, but it can't do everything. And you mentioned the book, and it's Human First AI, and that's really the whole mantra of our company and what we do. We want to put the humans first with AI. We're at a crossroads. So I think I'm going on to a further part of the interview, but yeah, my
No, it's
connection in
good.
AI started with being able to have deliver that instant access to
Mhm.
humans via conversation.
and I really want to delve into because it's really interesting to me. Could you just sort of develop this idea of human first AI a little bit? Because I like the sound of it. I like the idea, but what are the parameters of what you would consider to be human first AI?
Well, we're at a crossroads, and not necessarily crossroads technologically, because technology is always going to be there for us. But
Hmm.
we're at a crossroads for a human decision, and for AI, we're either it's polarized. Let's replace everybody, or let's just get rid of AI. It's either the greatest thing in the world or worst thing in the world. And so I wanted to offer a third option. The third option is using AI to augment what humans do. And if we replace everybody, well, that's going to be great for, business bottom line for, 2 or 3 years maybe, but then we're going to stall, and it's going to be it's going to become our dark ages. If we need that human input to think outside the box, because by definition, everything that we get from AI is in a box, and it can't create on its own. It can point us to answers. And we either use AI to replace people, which is, cause some economic and emotional turmoil, or we can use AI to augment humans to make humans better at what they're doing, to make them irreplaceable. And I choose that latter path, and that's what our mission is. That's what our vision is a future where all of us have this, not a personal assistant, that's cool for looking up movie times, but a professional assistant that goes deeper, that is attuned to what we do and how we do it. And I set up AI as a sounding board to think with the human, not for the human. That's a very important distinction. So we think with the human to soundboard that keeps the creative juices going, and AI is that instant access to, the answers in our own fact book that allow us to continue that momentum and think on our own and develop new and cool ideas. It's human iteration is important, and AI can help source that information to help us iterate. So the difference is, in the end, is that happier people, happier humanity, we're going in a point of continuous growth rather than automating everything and knowledge stalls, because that's what would happen if we turn the keys over to AI.
Right. And I mean, it sounds like you see it as a decision-making tool. It's a way for people to look at these are the possible decisions that I can make based on this given information. And I've listened to a couple of other podcasts with you and the way that Pocket Mentor is used, and it sounds like it's explaining and helping people understand in a way that's more comfortable for them to hear. This is what's going to happen, or this is a way that you can use this information to improve yourself or improve whatever situation that you're in right now. It's kind of helping people build that critical thinking muscle that is going to be important and increasingly important in the future.
Right. You mentioned the product Pocket Mentor, and it
Right.
truly is that. It's a mentor. And there's a MIT paper that came out earlier in the year that posed the dilemma that AI is going to turn us all into idiots type of thing, meaning if we don't use it, we'll lose it. And their perspective is correct if and only if we're doing point and click and keyboard clicks on
Mhm.
the internet to, college, create this term paper for me, and then it's
Hmm.
cut and paste. Let's change the name to our own and we're done. There's no thinking going on there. But what we have, what Pocket Mentor is, you actually pick up the phone. It's really not, it's not an app. You can just dial a phone number just like you're dialing your best friend, and phone a friend and ask them questions like, Dave, you've done this before, and you do it quite well. I'm here looking at this thing for the first time, and could you talk me through it? And very conversationally, our AI does exactly that. It sounds human. It's over the telephone via, a voice call. It's voice interactive that keeps the user, you and me, our hands free and our eyes free so we can focus on the task. And it supports what we're doing. And because it comes through our ear, we actually have to process it and understand it. And this is why I say we use AI to help us think, to help us soundboard. And because we're thinking, that allows us to actually ingest that knowledge in our own brain and create something with our own hands. And that's the value we're bringing to the table here of how we leverage AI rather than having it think for us.
That is awesome. I'm gonna have to tell one of my buddies. He's got to fix his car for the first time, and something like that would probably be awesome, where he can call in and he can say, "This is what I got going on," and it can give him everything that he needs. Very cool. Very cool.
I'm just thinking about this. So I know you've focused on the sort of value of this in terms of potential for use in education. And, I'm someone who honestly has a lot of concerns about how AI is used in education, largely for the reasons you just outlined, which is when we talk about its use in education, we're really talking about its kind of misuse more than anything else. And I'm just wondering, how would you see human first AI in the classroom? What would the role be, not only for the teacher, but also for the student?
Absolutely. So I will say that I live in North America. I am not an accredited teacher for K through
Hmm.
12 or otherwise, but I do volunteer at the local school systems. And so I've had some hands-on knowledge as an adult. And then thinking back, I have hands-on knowledge as a student, back in the day. And what has not changed and really gotten worse is the amount of time teachers spend preparing assignments, preparing for the class. Then they,
Oh, yeah.
say 8 hours at school. So, I see some of them 2 hours before school, they're in there doing
Hmm.
work. And then after school, they're sticking around and doing work. And then they take work home and they're either grading papers or they're creating new assignments. And it's just nonstop. So during the school year, it's 12 hours a day for these teachers. So I underline that as a statement that, teachers are a limited resource. And I don't know anybody out there that would say we have too many good teachers. My thought is we've never had enough good teachers. So it's scalability, it's availability. So imagine if that teacher, your favorite teacher, think back when you're in K through 12, any of those grades, and think about your favorite teacher. Do either of you have a name that pops in your head of your favorite teacher?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
All right, who's your favorite teacher, Dave?
So mine, looking back, Mr. Persfield, my fifth grade teacher, and he was really strict, but I learned more in fifth grade than I did probably in any other year of school.
Mr. Percival. Okay. So did you have conversations with him in class that were more than just get the assignment done? Did you actually talk about the subject?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we talked about, I mean, everything. History. He was my English teacher as well. So English, history, writing, speech and debate.
Okay. Well, beautiful. So when you were speaking to Mr. Percival, how many kids were in your class? Like, 15, 20?
Yeah, probably 20 to
Okay.
25.
So yeah, every minute that you were speaking that one-on-one conversation with Mr. Percival, there were 19 kids that just had to sit there and twiddle their thumbs and wait. And so they weren't being necessarily taught. They were listening in, sure, they heard some things, but they weren't necessarily being taught. And they couldn't actually exercise their own curiosity. Right. And the same thing goes for, Jim or Janet that was sitting to your left or right in class when they were talking to Mr. Percival. You might have tuned in or you might have tuned out. But the majority statistically of the classroom is going to tune out. So there's limited time in the classroom, and that's only gotten worse as more subjects are added. There's more credentials that you got to teach to. And so if we have Mr. Percival and we downloaded his brain, and this is where we're at today, this is no longer science fiction, gentlemen. We can download Mr. Percival's brain on that specific topic, with his permission, of course, and we're doing it the right way. And we put maybe his debating skills or his history skills or his English lit skills into a box. And it's him, it's his ideas, it's everything that he studied, it's how he teaches. Imagine, if you will, all 20 students being able to dial up Mr. Percival on a telephone and talk for hours about any topic that they wanted to. Can you imagine the value that would have to the learning and feeding the curiosity of those students?
That's
Uh,
incredible.
That's
It's
what
it's
we're
hard it's
doing.
hard it's hard to fathom.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're doing today with Pocket Mentor. And we call it Pocket Mentor because it lives on your phone. And we're not, unlike a lot of the way that the people are introducing AI. Well, it's AI. So, let's get new computers and new tablets and new GPU cards and all these things that cost money. We've turned it into the most basic. We've removed all the barriers, kind of like Google has for like what 20, 25 years, right? Google.com is a box, right? It's so
Mm.
simple. And we wanted to keep that simple because anything that is not simple and barrier free is going to reduce participation. In the school realm here, you have the kids that are in Mr. Percifield's class and they're interacting and they're having fun, and they're taking tests and they're going home and doing homework. But once they get home, they can dial that phone number, call up Mr. Percifield's knowledge brain, and ask about English lit, ask about history, and just have conversations. And they could even ask questions and not feel judged. It's difficult, and I think every teacher at the beginning of every school year I had in K through 12, one of their statements was there are no stupid questions, because they want to encourage curiosity, right? They want to
Mhm.
encourage what most of us deem stupid questions, because it's the answers to those stupid questions that have changed the world today. You could look
Yeah.
at Albert Einstein and Nikola Tesla. They asked some silly questions back in the day, but they got some cool answers. They weren't really silly questions to them, but for somebody that doesn't understand at the same level they do. So that's where our Pocket Mentor takes Mr. Percifield's brain and connects to the individual student one on one. We used to teach in a one size fits all mentality, and we already know, looking at the statistics, that one size fits all, we can't meet all the students. Now, if
Mm.
we're teaching to the individual student, I know in North America, we have a thing called No Student Left Behind. So our curriculum is slowed down to the weakest link in the chain, so to speak. And
Hmm.
then we give so much attention to that weakest link in the chain that the other 95% of the students suffer because they're not learning as quick as they could. So my daughter went to a Kumon Academy, which is a Japanese method of education where it's you learn at your own pace, and that was part of my genesis here in creating Pocket Mentor. It allows the student to learn at their own pace by engaging their teacher, their own Mr. Percifield, in talks for hours if they want to deep dive into a subject and experience the subject, not just get answers, but think with Mr. Percifield, not just listen to answers. And that's what we're doing here. We're democratizing knowledge to a point that we have the best knowledge out there that is available to everybody, not just one person for a couple minutes during a classroom.
So then who would be responsible? Would the student take more responsibility for their learning, or would that ultimately come down to the teacher or the school, or where would you see something like this coming in?
Well, now you're getting to the philosophical
Right.
and the municipal and community standards and all that. I offer Pocket Mentor as a tool, so
Hmm.
it's I think at the end of days, good teachers really teach us that learning is our responsibility,
Mm.
and there's so many barriers for children to learn in a K through 12 scenario. So many barriers because one, a big one is that, hey, I'm the weird kid, and everybody feels like they're the weird kid when they're in school. So I'm not going to raise my hand. I'm not going to volunteer. I'm not going to ask questions. I'm just going to go home not knowing the answer and hope that I don't get called on when I go into school tomorrow. So it's not really about assigning responsibility in my perspective here. It's
Hmm.
about offering tools that give everybody, every student, the ability to ask those otherwise judged as silly questions. And it just takes one answer to start a conversation that might go on all year. And that engagement, it's really the engagement of the student is where the student learns. So that's what we're doing here. We're just offering tools to make learning more accessible.
That still is awesome. I'm just thinking here, you could use this for languages, you could use this for virtually any subject too. Regardless, if you're curious, you can learn it.
Well, that's true. And what we're looking here to do, we're not necessarily proposing to replace traditional education, because education lays the foundation. There's a model that was, I think, adopted about, I don't know, 40 or 50 years ago. It's most people in education are aware of this. It's a 70-20-10 learning model. And
Yeah.
70-20-10 are percentages. And the 70% means I'm learning while I'm doing. So if it's work, it's on the job. I'm doing something. If it's, school sports, I'm learning it as I'm doing it. And then the 20% means that I'm learning it really kind of through osmosis, just kind of talking with my
Mm,
peers. But the 10 in the 70-20-10 model is the traditional learning programs, our K through 12 institutions, our colleges, our universities, our trade schools. It's the 10% is traditional learning where we sit here and we either read a book or we're now in the age of computers, we're on an LMS and we're clicking and watching videos, right?
yeah.
And that's great, but that leaves that 10% in traditional learning leaves 90% of someone's day as an opportunity to learn. And that's where Pocket Mentor comes in. That's where any mentor comes in. The best way to learn is from mentoring because we talk about the knowledge to do something, and then we talk about the practical application of the knowledge is something different. And so doing is where we actually learn and remember the things that we read about. Otherwise, it goes in one ear and out the other. And there's science on that. There's a guy named Ebbinghaus in the late 1800s that it was dubbed later the forgetting curve. And what he found out in his research is that through traditional learning, that 10% that we're only spending our time anyway is very inefficient because as soon as we learn something, we forget half of it within 20 minutes. Can you imagine that? You get taught everything you need to know to go in and do a job. And then by the time you walk out to the floor or to the office to do that job, you forgot half of what you're going to do. Now, if you had a mentor walking beside you, ideally, the teacher, the principal, the business owner, the CEO. I've spent time at Amazon, so imagine how much better I would have done. I did some great things at Amazon, but imagine how much better I would have been at Amazon if I walked around with Jeff Bezos, the Amazon CEO, as my personal mentor, available to me 24/7, 365 instead of me looking up or guessing or being inefficient. I said, Jeff, how would you do that here? Oh, I would do this, this. Oh, great. I'll do it now. And it's more of a reminder. That's what mentors do. They take that traditional knowledge and they ask questions. A good mentor will ask as many questions as they will provide answers. And
Mm,
that's what we're doing here. We're giving students, we're giving humans, we're giving employees the ability to ask those questions in the time of need so that they receive this just in time knowledge from a true friend, from a true mentor. There was a game show back in the day. I think it was with Howie Mandel where you could phone a friend, right?
Mhm.
It's like I kind of remember it. It's on the tip of my tongue, but
Oh, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. So we all know that safety net, that phone a friend, let me call a mentor to help me out, allows us to continue in the moment, whatever we're doing, whatever we're building, whatever we are creating. We talk to a mentor, and it doesn't matter if that mentor is really human or a voice in a box that is modeled after a human, except the fact that if you try to get to human, right, Jeff Bezos is not available to anybody 24/7, 365, even to himself because he's got to sleep. But if we put his brain in the box and deliver that to everybody at Amazon, well, Amazon would be even better than they are now and more adept, more responsive. The same thing happens with any company that's out there. Instead of taking time to train somebody, whether they're new or existing and they're doing a new process, you allow them to truly feel empowered because they have the answers and they just tap their earbud and say, hey, can you talk me through this? Whether it's a barista at a coffee shop or it's a product manager that's working for General Motors or Ford. They have those answers when they need it, and that inertia continues to work them through so they can finish up what they're doing and maybe even iterate a few times to make it the best thing they've done all day.
wow. Okay. That's comprehensive, comprehensive explanation there. Fantastic. Anything to add, Dave?
I'm just thinking going back to Peace Corps and just
Hmm.
practically, okay,
Oh,
I'm gonna
yeah.
I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna just start walking down the street. And you go up and there are people having a wedding, or you're going to the market and a lady says, oh, this costs, 7,000 rupiah. And I'm thinking, okay, how do you say 7,000? How do you say 7,000? And I mean, if you have that there, it's like, okay, I need a nudge. How do you say 7,000? Oh, 7,000. Oh, okay, 7,000. Boom. I mean, it's an instant confidence booster where you've got it and it's on the tip of your tongue, but it just won't come out at that second where you need it.
That's a good
Yeah, and I
example, Dave. There are translation tools out there. I think Apple's made headlines just a few months ago about
mm,
having that live universal translator. Kind of like Star Trek fame.
Mhm.
So that's knowledge. That is delivering the knowledge, and I'm glad you outlined that because delivering knowledge, like a give and take, is one way that the AI can be utilized. But think of this another way. Think about walking up to that same um, market stall and you see a dress, pants, vest, shirt, hat, and it's not just about asking, how much is that, but how about as you're walking up to it, you pull out Pocket Mentor and you say, "Hey, I'm here at this location. Can you tell me about the cultural significance of that hat?" And then
mm.
have a conversation. Well, can I wear that hat? Is it part of the guideline? Is there any religious significance? And it can give you that knowledge about a subject through conversation, that phone a friend. So when you go up there, and even if it's just a market stall with somebody you never met, you could actually have an in-depth conversation, and they can think of you as somebody more than just a tourist passing through. They can think of you as somebody that's actually culturally educated and sound and truly desire to be there and learn about their culture.
That's fascinating. I mean, I think for tourism, yeah, that's an easy win. And I think that could
Mm,
be a huge potential selling point for this kind of product. Do you see
definitely.
this just in the future, in 3 to 5 years, this going across the whole entire spectrum in every industry? I mean, we've talked, okay, tourism, education, work in an office. Do you see people adapting to something like this very quickly? I mean, we've put a lot of, I would say, trust, maybe isn't the right word, but we, I guess, rely a lot on AI and we've put a lot of reliance on ChatGPT in the last couple of years. Do you see something like this in the next 3 to 5 years where it could catch on like ChatGPT has? Or do you think it would take longer for it to potentially catch on where people, maybe they're not, I guess, comfortable with it at first, but gradually over time they start using it in their everyday life?
Well, this is the singularity point that I see, and I'm defining singularity in a different manner. But the interface with AI through the instant responsiveness is the important part. And as far as moving into the future, yeah, absolutely. We're going to have, you look at some of the TV shows, cinema movies that view the future, and you see holograms that just appear and teach you how to get your own cup of coffee or whatever they're doing. They're teaching you how to drive a car. Yeah, the future is going to be that way, and this professional assistant is going to get us there. And it is important that we are able to connect to the information, but that there again, it needs to be formatted and set up in a way that it's just not information retrievable. It's information conversation. How do I do this? How do I do that? What happens if this? Uh-oh, this went left instead of right. The wire is green instead of red. What do I do now? How do I feel about this? And talk me through. I'm a little scared. I'm a little agitated. I'm a little anxious. It's true conversations you would have to any human. That's the direction that we see AI going for sure.
So, I mean, if I understand this correctly, I think the crux of what you're saying is the focus should really be deepening engagement instead of replacing it.
That is the truth. Deep in the engagement, and in order to go deep, we can go wide or we can go deep. That's some terms that's used in engineering, any type of knowledge management. You go wide, you can
Mm,
go, or you could go deep. And right now, that's the difference between the public, Chat GPT interface, where or even back in the day, Alexa, hey Alexa,
yeah.
what's the
Mhm.
weather? That's responses. But integrating, if we ask a general AI a question, they're going to pull answers for actually, let me put it this way. You ask AI a question today, whether at your keyboard or over through an Alexa device or Google device, Siri, etc. You're going to get an answer that's culled from a wide knowledge base. It's and we already have seen and read headlines that state, well, hey, AI hallucinates too often. Well, it's not really hallucinating. It's trying to give you the answer you want to hear. And for every question
Hmm.
that's ever been asked in humanity, there's probably, I don't know, give or take 10, 50, 100 different answers that are out there. None of the answers are going to be the same. They're all unique. So the answer that you receive, there's no way to validate what that answer is except by doing more research. And ultimately, what happens is you get that human in the loop where you don't trust the knowledge that's given to you until you get that human verification. And so that's the difference in what we do versus a generalized AI. We use some cool proprietary, back end, secret sauce to align everything on a certain topic. And if we're working with a school, it's going to be, Mr. Persifield's class agenda and all the topics, and then his personal perspective. If we're working at a company, it might be everything you need to know about being a product manager at AWS. It could be, hey, maybe it's an onboarding. I'm a new person working for Eli Lilly Pharmaceutical. And what is the mission statement here? How do I apply that to my role in this job? So the secret sauce is really designing the knowledge so it only provides answers that are accurate to what's going on, accurate for the one-on-one human conversational experience, and also accurate to whatever the organization's vision and mission statement are. And so that's one important thing to remember is that when you are just talking to general AI out there, you're going to get some answers and you're going to get some good answers, but there's really no way to validate the accuracy. Whereas if we put everything in a box and we use some good instructional design and some philosophy and some organization techniques, and then we bond, we use some psychology in here too to connect, have that one-on-one connection, because the intent and impact of language today, it's awful easy to misunderstand something, but the way we set up our AI, converse, and we narrow down and learn from each conversation to make it the best conversation for that individual experience.
And this, I guess, goes back to what you were saying. You're talking to Jeff Bezos. You download, Jeff Bezos' brain. I mean, it's going to be how Jeff Bezos, if it's used at Amazon, sees the world, integrating Jeff Bezos' philosophy and mission into this product for people working at Amazon.
True, true. And I think another movie, I'm pulling movies and I'm mentioning movies because that's where creativity exists
Hmm.
in fiction. There has never been a product that's been invented that was not fictionalized first. And so it's the anchor of all creativity. So we had, what was it, 1999 or so, Matrix came out, and you could download right to your brain,
Hmm.
martial arts or painting or driving a race car type of thing. Now we're not to the point where that is available yet, but Pocket Mentor is as close to that in real life today as we've gotten so far.
Fascinating. I mean, I'm going back and
Absolutely.
thinking back to, okay, when I saw The Matrix for the first time, I was completely just wowed by everything, by the camera work, by the story, by being able to download things, the red pill, blue pill. The future is going to be, I guess, interesting to say the least. I mean,
Yeah. But no, that's just, I mean, that's just, it's just, kind of a fascinating thing to talk through on so many levels. And just to think about that that is available in any form is kind of remarkable. Do you have anything you want to add, Dave?
yeah, I would like to hear about your book. So can you please tell us about your book and what that's going to be about?
Well, certainly, yeah. That's Human First AI. give you and your listeners a free copy of the first chapter is available now at humanfirstai.net. And the concept is it's not technical, okay? It's a narrative, and it discusses what the future looks like with AI replacing us versus AI augmenting us. And so, it just presents the facts as they are, tells a nice story, and allows the reader to decide, which path do they want to follow. If they want to choose the human first AI, well, there's a game plan in there that talks them through how to implement it in their own life or their organization's life, whether it's a nonprofit organization or a business. And it's a good starting point to shine light on the aspect here that we're at a decision point in humanity of whether we replace humans with AI or we actually use AI to augment humans to make them irreplaceable. And that's the storyline, and I'll leave it to the reader to decide, which one's the best outcome for them.
Sounds like an
Well,
interesting book. I have to pick it up.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, DC. We really appreciate you being here and man, just kind of blowing our minds over here. So thanks for hopping on, and I'm just so happy that this resulted from a podcast that you listen to. This is kind of crazy. Um, Thanks. It's been great having you on.
Well, thank you both, gentlemen. I appreciate my time here.
Yeah, well, thank you. And thank you guys very much for listening. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share if you haven't. And we look forward to having you guys and hopefully having DC back on again on a future episode. Take care.